Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montevilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Pfaff Expression 710. In this video, I'm going to explain the touchscreen, and there's a lot that you can do with this machine. So let's get started. First of all, when you use the touchscreen, make sure you're using your stylus. It makes it a lot easier to adjust things and make sure you're hitting the correct thing. Okay, so your touchscreen, in addition to your buttons, you have things on the screen that you can adjust. Now, these things on the sides stay the same, but the stuff in the middle can change depending on what you're doing. For instance, if we're doing free motion quilting, you see how that changes right there. Now, in free motion quilting, you have different feet that you can use: the ruler foot, the sensormatic, spring foot, and dynamic. Whenever you see this little arrow, this little triangle at the side, just press and hold, and that gives you more options. In this case, it makes it so that you can adjust the height of the foot as it's floating over your fabric to do free motion, depending on the thickness of your batting. But that's the same with the ruler foot. Now I'm going to uncheck that right now because we're not going to be doing free motion quilting. Okay, up here, this is just informational. So for whatever stitch that you choose, this recommends the foot, and it recommends to put your IDT down, your walking foot, or if that little top thing is missing, then it says disengage that. That's what it would show. Right here we have, in the case of a straight stitch, we have where you can move your stitch to one side or to the other side. You can lengthen your stitch, so like if you're doing some basting or you want just to have a really longer stitch length, you can do that. And then over here is where you can adjust your tension on your thread. If you had a really thick thread, then you may want to have a looser tension. Okay, I think looser would be down there. Now, if you've adjusted this and you want to put it right back to default, an easy way to do that is go to your menu, just reselect the stitch, and there, it's right back to default. Now, this menu button over here is where you find all these stitches that are up in here. So when you're looking for stitches, right now it's in Essential Stitches, which is in this group right here. If I go there, you've got Essential, you've got the 1.1 stitch group, you've got the 1.2, which is overcasting, the 1.3 is the buttonholes, and the 4 is eyelet. So that's how these are arranged. Different groups will have different numbers of categories within those groups. And we've got this. And then you've got this arrow, which means you've got 5, 6, 7, and 8 groups. Now this goes only up to 7, so 8 is where you can store stitches into your machine. Now right now I've got lots of stitches that I've memorized into the machine in my personal menu number 1. So I've got 10 spaces in personal menu number 1. There's 10 more in number 2 and 10 more in number 3. So that you can see that you can put quite a few stitches into your machine and memorize them. One thing I really like about this is I'm going to go into menu 1. Right here, I've put a zigzag in. That's because I have adjusted the width and length of that zigzag. That way, I can just choose it out of memory, and I don't have to keep remembering what my adjustments were every time I choose zigzag. So that's a really helpful way to do it. Also, if you have a particular width of quilt piecing that you want to do and a stitch length, you can memorize it in that menu. Now this little thing up here is how we put it into memory. So that little heart that's already up there, that's how we put it in. The way we get it out, push menu, and then go to personal menu. We're already in that, but I'm going to go back to that. That heart that's on the screen here, that's how we get to the to pull things out of the memory. So one way to put it in, another way to pull it out. I can show you more about that on the sequencing video that I'm going to do. So let's get out of that for now. Now, whenever you're trying to find a way to get back into, say, straight stitching, go to this here, page back to here. Now, you want Essential Stitches. That's this group right here, the ones that you use for everyday sort of sewing. Touch that there. Touch the stitch that you want. Now, it's usually the one you want is like right up in there in the corner. for straight stitching. Okay, now I'm going to go to zigzag, and I'm going to show you some of the, now zigzag would be 5, and see how that looked a little bit different than the one I had memorized. You can widen or narrow your stitch. You can lengthen or shorten your stitch. Now, this happens to be all the shorter that goes. So if I'm going to do applique, I actually want to choose a different stitch. So I'm going to show you the applique stitch. That would be this one here, number 9. See how nice and close together that is? And I can make it even shorter and denser if I want to, and as well as making it narrower. So once you have chosen your settings, stitch it out, see if that's what you like, and if you really like that and that's what you want to do, you can save that in your personal menu if you want. In other words, and again, to get back into default, just reselect that stitch. There you go. Okay, now up here, notice it says no IDT. That symbol is gone. It says to use what kind of foot, and it also says, in this case, to use a stabilizer. That's what that means. When you're sewing and you have a zigzag that you're doing, any kind of, especially close zigzag and sort of wide, it tends to scrunch up your fabric in your quilting cottons, not so much on your denims, but more your finer cotton. So you want to put a tearaway or just regular stabilizer in the back. That's what that means. Now, this over here, I'm going to get back into regular sewing. This one is options for putting a little tie-off at the beginning. That little button right here, well, you can actually build that in at the beginning, and you put that on there, and it's going to start out with that little tie-off at the end. And then you can manually do this, or you can do this, push that button, and it does it automatically. This one is really useful for some of your decorative stitches where you want it to do a tie-off at the end. And then here, once you've done that tie-off, it will cut that as long as you have that selected. You can start sewing without closing this, or you can close it, depends on what you want to do. It only really covers up the thread tension bar there. Okay, I'm going to turn all those off for now. I'm going to show you something else. Okay, let's get out of that. This one here, that's for tapering. So tapering looks like this. This is an example of a applique, or applique stitch that I use tapering on. And this is, I'm going to go like this. Okay, you can't taper a straight stitch, but you can taper a zigzag. This shows the default, which is at a 45-degree angle. So if you're turning a 90-degree corner, that's what you'd want. But you can also change it to like be in the center. Let me go to zigzag so you can see what that looks like. Okay, you can change it so it looks like that in the center, or press and hold. You can make it longer and narrower, and if you want to do that at the end, you can do that. Press and hold. Let's go to that nice long narrow one at the end. Now, to use this, you would need to push, as soon as you got to where you wanted to start tapering, this is where you'd push your reverse button, and then it would taper to the end. Okay, so I'm going to turn those off for now and get out of that. Now down here is your sequencing button, and I'm going to have another video on how to do sequencing, but just know that this is how you can do lettering, print something out, and with lettering, and you can put nice little embellishments at the beginning and at the end. I'm going to show you in my here we go, the things I had memorized, personal menu 1. For instance, here's Pfaff. Now, it doesn't show the entire field, but I can always page down here. You can see what it looks like. So what I've got is I've got a little flower and Pfaff and another little flower at the end, and then I've also got little tie-offs and cuts at the end. So that's what that guy's all about. And I'm going to get back into regular sewing. Watch how I do that. The oval, essential stitches, select that, and select my straight stitch. Okay, then these are our turnover keys. They are really useful for if you're doing a decorative stitch and say you don't want the hearts going this way, you want them going that way. I'm going to show you with some of these fun stitches here. So this is the stitch I want, 6-3. We're going to go into group number 6, and it's in 3 fun stitches. There's my little VW bug car. I can turn that to go this way, which is nice feature if you've got maybe a garment, maybe a little kid's garment, and along the hem you want to put a little line of cars or kangaroos or elephants or whatever you want. And you want the hem edge here and the body of the garment on this side, then you can use that turnover key. You can also change the direction that the cars go using the turnover, the mirror key going this way too. So you've got lots of options that way. And then this little guy here is only going to work in sequencing. So in this case, since I'm not doing a sequence where I have like letters and numbers and things that maybe I had a misspell or something, I could correct that using the little delete key. That's what that's about. Now, this little guy here is really, really useful. If you have a question about did she say about what that was? Well, I can go like this, and then I press this, and it tells me, okay, that's sequencing. Opens the sequencing window. Okay, fine, got that. And you didn't get into sequencing to find that out. All you needed to do is press that. Now, if I do this on right here, it shows the stitch field. That's what that's talking about. So this is going to be a really handy button to have. Now, this one here is your settings menu, and I did a whole video on settings, so watch that video, but it basically makes it so that you can kind of personalize your machine and make it do what you want it to do. So that is your touch screen, and it's got a lot of neat features. Try it out. Build yourself a sampler of stitches. You'll be amazed at what you can do. We've got lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines on our YouTube channel here in Montevilla. So keep watching, and thanks for watching today. Bye.